Well, nearly $4 billion. That's the estimated cost of repairing flood-damaged roads across Australia, according to the Australian Local Government Association. Given that price tag is nearing the national foreign aid budget, the advocacy body is asking for a major rethink in how roads are funded and maintained. Joining me live is ALGA President Linda Scott for more on this. I think for anyone that's out there that's driven some of the roads, I was doing some in New South Wales recently. It was incredible, some of the damage. And just big signs asking people to slow down in huge stretches because of how big the potholes were. The price tag, how certain is that? I mean, who's been doing the surveys on this? Could it be even worse?
Well, look, councils are, of course, very sympathetic with our communities right along the East Coast, where thousands and thousands of kilometres of roads have been very significantly damaged, or potentially in some of these very badly impacted areas, of course, completely washed away. And we have, for the first time, tried to estimate the cost of fixing and replacing these roads at a cost, we think, of up to $3.8 billion, as you rightly point out, the equivalent of Australia's foreign aid budget. Considering the ongoing impacts of climate change, we simply can't rebuild this local infrastructure in the same way. We need to use a different method, more innovative approaches to ensure that we can build our roads, our footpaths, our cycleways back better, stronger and in a more resilient way for the future.
Right, so basically that if the similar rain arrived next year, we wouldn't have the same repair bill. What does that mean? Is it more expensive to do it that way? What alternative technology is there?
We think there are more innovative ways of doing this. Road engineers describe water on roads as being like kryptonite. It really is just so destructive for the materials. And what we're looking at in local government is ways of building a circular economy, reusing tyres, for example, to build materials that can better withstand the pressures of water and other things that are destructive to roads. But this takes funding, and whilst we really welcome the opportunity for local governments to partner with the Commonwealth Government through the Roads to Recovery program, we're really advocating for that to increase in next year's Commonwealth budget to up to $800 million per year. That's, of course, not the level of $3.8 billion we'd need to recover all these roads, but it is a significant increase that we know would help the 537 local governments across Australia build our roads back better and stronger for the future.
Obviously, the federal government's own budget is under a bit of pressure. Where does responsibility lie? Presumably it depends on the road. You've got a federal highway, that's Commonwealth, but as soon as it gets to a smaller road, is that always up to local government to fix them, local councils? And I guess that could be a whole year's budget for some councils.
Well, and even more so, we know that local governments own 77% of Australia's road network. And this is an issue not just for the regions, but for all Australians. My council in the City of Sydney, for example, of course, my communities depend on the roads to bring the produce from Australia's regions in so that we can all eat. Australia's national productivity is highly dependent on having an effective, efficient freight network. So really today we're talking about the cost of repairing these roads, but what governments and communities should be focused on is actually, of course, the cost of not repairing these roads. And that cost to Australia's economy and productivity is significantly higher. So we're working with state and territory governments and the Commonwealth Government in the lead up to next year's Commonwealth budget to have a think about how we can do this more innovatively, as I said, using new materials to help us build back better. But we do need to understand that without this significant increase in funding to repair the damage, it's going to be very, very challenging, as you say, for councils. Some of those remote and regional councils in Australia with thousands of kilometres of road network and simply nowhere near the budget that they need to repair roads that in some cases have been completely washed away.
Well, just finally, is it just about funding? I mean, do we have the workers to be able to fix this in any sort of timely manner? I can't think of a time when our roads were this bad.
It's a great question. We've just published some research with the Commonwealth Government that identified that 9 in 10 councils are experiencing skill shortages. Significant numbers are reporting they don't have the skilled people to undertake the work to keep our infrastructure projects moving, and that's up in recent years from 7 in 10. So we have shortages, for example, of engineers and town planners, which is again inhibiting Australia's productivity, inhibiting our nation's ability to move forward. I should say we
Okay.
really do welcome the Commonwealth Government's commitment for a $200 million new disaster ready fund. That's a great step forward that local governments have really celebrated to help us invest in this prevention infrastructure as disasters hit. But when it
Okay.
comes to our roads, it's a tough challenge.
It is. And as I said, if you've experienced them, you'll know what we're talking about. Linda Scott, thank you.